The rain was coming down in sheets, a real gully washer. I was already soaked through, even with my umbrella, and the wind was whipping around, trying to rip it right out of my hand. My shift at the diner had just ended, and all I wanted was to get home to my daughter, Lily, who was probably already tucked in bed. Being a single dad wasn't always easy, but Lily made every single day worth it. She was my sunshine, my reason for everything. As I hurried past the bus stop, a small splash of color caught my eye. A little girl, no older than Lily, was huddled on the bench, her bright pink backpack a stark contrast to the grey, miserable evening. Her shoulders were shaking, and even over the drumming rain, I could hear soft, heartbroken sobs. My stomach twisted. I couldn't just leave her there. I hesitated for a moment. What would a stranger think? A man approaching a crying child at a bus stop late at night. But then I looked at her again, so tiny and vulnerable, and all my reservations melted away. She needed help. Hey there, I said, my voice as gentle as I could make it over the wind. I tried to angle my umbrella to shield her a bit. She flinched, pulling her knees tighter to her chest, and looked up with wide, tear-filled blue eyes. Her face was smudged with dirt and tears, and her blonde hair was plastered to her forehead. Are you okay, sweetie? I asked, kneeling down so I was closer to her level. Are you lost? She shook her head, a fresh wave of tears spilling down her cheeks. My mommy, she choked out. She didn't come. My heart ached for her. She didn't come. For the bus? She nodded, her lower lip trembling. She said she would. After work. But she's not here. How long have you been waiting, honey? A long time, she whispered, her voice barely audible. Since the sun went down. The sun had gone down hours ago. It was well past 9. This poor kid had been sitting out here in the rain and cold for hours, all alone. Anger flared in me, hot and quick, but I pushed it down. Right now, she needed comfort, not my judgment of whoever had left her. My name's Ben, I said, offering a small, reassuring smile. What's yours? Chloe, she mumbled, sniffling. It's really cold out here, Chloe, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. And you're soaked. Do you know your mommy's phone number? Or your address? Maybe we can call her. She shook her head again. I don't know it. Just our house. She pointed a small, trembling finger vaguely down the street. It's near the park with the big slide. The park with the big slide. That wasn't much to go on, but it was a start. Okay, I said, making a decision. Tell you what. My daughter, Lily, is probably asleep right now. But I bet she'd want me to help you. How about we try and find your house? I promise I won't leave you until we find your mommy, okay? She looked at me, a flicker of hope in her eyes, mixed with a deep, weary sadness. Really? Really, I confirmed, standing up and holding out my hand. Come on, let's get you out of this rain. She hesitated for a moment, then slowly, tentatively, placed her small, cold hand in mine. Her fingers were like ice. I pulled my umbrella tighter around us, trying to shield her as best I could, and we started walking. The walk was slow. Chloe was small and clearly exhausted and chilled to the bone. Every few minutes she'd shiver, and my heart would clench. I kept asking her questions, trying to gather more clues, but she didn't know much. Her mommy worked at the big building, and they lived in the blue house. There were a lot of blue houses. We walked past the park with the big slide, and I tried to follow her gaze, her small, pointing finger. But she just seemed disoriented. The rain continued to pour, making it hard to see, and the streetlights cast long, watery reflections on the slick pavement. Every porch light we passed, I hoped would be hers, but each time, Chloe just shook her head, her face growing more despondent. Are you hungry, Chloe? I asked, trying to distract her. I could really go for some warm soup right now. She nodded faintly. My tummy hurts. I cursed inwardly. This was going to be a long night. We kept walking, and I kept talking, trying to fill the silence, trying to keep her spirits up. I told her about Lily, about her silly stuffed animal, Mr. Wiggles, and how much Lily loved to draw. Chloe listened, sometimes offering a small, sad smile after what felt like an hour, maybe more, of walking up and down streets. My feet aching and my patience wearing thin, not with Chloe, but with the situation. She suddenly squeezed my hand. That one, she exclaimed, her voice a little stronger, pointing a shaky finger. That's our house. The one with the sparkly flowers. I looked where she was pointing. It was a small, well-kept blue house, and indeed there were small reflective ornaments in the flower beds that glinted even in the dim light. My heart leaped with a mix of relief and apprehension. "Okay, Chloe," I said, guiding her towards the front door. "Let's see if your mum is home." As we approached, I noticed the windows were dark. No lights on anywhere. A knot of dread tightened in my stomach. I knocked on the door, first gently, then a little louder. No answer. I knocked again, harder this time, listening intently. Nothing, just the sound of the rain. Chloe started to cry again, softer this time, a whimper that broke my heart. "She's not here. She's not home." I knelt beside her again, pulling her into a gentle hug. She felt so small and fragile against me. "It's okay, sweetie. It's okay. Sometimes people just step out for a minute. Let's try the back." We walked around to the back of the house, hope dwindling with every dark window we passed. The back door was also locked, and the yard was empty. My mind raced. What was I going to do? I couldn't just leave her here. Certainly not if her mother wasn't home. And I couldn't take her back to the bus stop. "Is there anyone else, Chloe?" I asked gently. "A grandma, an auntie, a neighbor who helps you." She shook her head, burying her face against my wet jacket. "Just Mommy." This was a bad situation. A really bad situation. My thoughts went to Lily, safe and warm in her bed. I had to get Chloe somewhere safe too. And warm. "Okay," I said, taking a deep breath. "Listen, Chloe, it's really cold, and your mommy isn't here right now. How about we go to my house? It's warm, and I can make you some hot chocolate, and we can call the police, and they can help us find your mommy, okay?" She pulled back, her eyes wide with fear. "Police? They help us, sweetie," I reassured her. "They help people find their way home. And my daughter, Lily, would love to meet you. You can wear her pajamas, and we'll watch a cartoon, and we'll figure this out. I promise." It was a big ask, a stranger taking a child to his house. But what other choice did I have? She was freezing, alone, and clearly abandoned, at least for the night. I had to trust my gut, trust that I was doing the right thing. She looked at me for a long moment, her small brow furrowed in thought. Then, slowly, she nodded. "Okay." Relief washed over me, a powerful wave. "Good girl," I said, squeezing her hand. "Let's go." The walk back to my place felt even longer, but at least now we had a destination. I kept walking, trying to keep her distracted, pointing out puddles and telling her silly stories about Lily's misadventures. By the time we reached my small, cozy house, the rain had finally started to let up, though a cold drizzle remained. I unlocked the door, ushering Chloe inside. The warmth of the house immediately enveloped us. "Okay," I said, trying to sound cheerful. "First things first. Let's get you into some dry clothes. And then, hot chocolate." I led her to the bathroom, found a clean towel, and then went to Lily's room. Lily was a few years older than Chloe, but I knew I had some pajamas that might fit. I rummaged through her drawers, pulling out a pair of fuzzy unicorn pajamas and a clean t-shirt. When Chloe came out of the bathroom, wrapped in the big towel, she looked even smaller. Her teeth were chattering slightly. "Here you go," I said, handing her the clothes. "You can change in my room. It's warmer in there." While she changed, I went to the kitchen and started making hot chocolate, adding extra marshmallows just like Lily liked. I also put a small frozen pizza in the oven, quick and easy. My mind was already planning the next steps, calling the police, explaining the situation. It was going to be a long night, but at least Chloe was safe now. When she emerged from my room, dressed in Lily's unicorn pajamas, she looked like a completely different child. The warmth had brought a little color back to her cheeks, and the pajamas, though a bit big, were clearly comforting. She even managed a small, shy smile. "Hot chocolate's ready," I announced, pouring a steaming mug for her and one for myself. "And pizza will be ready soon." We sat at the kitchen table. Chloe carefully sipped her hot chocolate, her eyes wide as she looked around my small kitchen. It was messy, with Lily's drawings taped to the fridge and a scattering of toys on the counter. But it was home. "It's nice here," she whispered, her voice still a little hoarse. "It's home," I agreed. "And now, while we eat, I'm going to make a phone call, okay? To some people who can help us find your mommy." She nodded, taking another careful sip of her drink. I called the non-emergency police line, explaining the situation as calmly as I could. The dispatcher was kind and understanding, asking for details about where I found her, what Chloe had told me, and where her supposed house was. They said they'd send an officer over, and that they would start checking the address Chloe had given me. While we waited, Chloe and I ate pizza. She ate slowly, but steadily, and I could tell she was ravenous. We talked a little more about Lily, and about her own favorite toys. She had a worn-out teddy bear she called Mr. Snuggles, and her favorite color was purple. She was 5 years old, just like Lily had been when her mom, my wife, had passed away. A pang of grief hit me, as it often did, but I pushed it down. Right now, Chloe needed me to be strong. When the doorbell rang, both Chloe and I jumped. I opened the door to a friendly-looking female police officer. She smiled reassuringly at Chloe, who immediately hid a little behind my leg. "Hi there, Chloe," the officer said gently. "My name is Officer Davis. It's very brave of you to stay with Ben." I explained everything again to Officer Davis, and she patiently took down notes. She then knelt down to Chloe's level, speaking in a calm, soothing voice, asking her a few questions. Chloe, though shy, answered them as best she could. Officer Davis confirmed that they had sent a patrol car to the blue house Chloe had pointed out, but there was no answer. They had also checked with neighbors, but no one seemed to know much about a little girl named Chloe living there, or her mother. "It was unsettling. We'll do our best to find her mother, Ben," Officer Davis said, standing up. "In the meantime, Chloe needs a safe place to stay. Child Protective Services will be contacted, and they'll arrange for a temporary foster family." My heart sank. Foster care. The thought of Chloe going into the system, into a stranger's home, after everything she'd been through tonight. It didn't sit right with me. "Wait," I said, before I even really thought it through. Could she stay here? Just for tonight. I have a spare room, and my daughter Lily would be thrilled to have a sleepover friend. I'm a single dad. I have a clean record, and I promise she'll be safe here. Officer Davis looked surprised. She eyed me for a moment. Then Chloe, who was peeking out from behind my leg, her eyes wide and uncertain. "It's a big ask, Ben," she said, her voice softening. "There's a lot of protocol involved, but I can put in a request. It would make things easier for Chloe, not having to go to a shelter right away, especially after such a traumatic experience." She paused. "You seem like a good man, Ben. I can't imagine her going somewhere new, with new people, after all this," I said, looking at Chloe. "She's been through enough tonight," Officer Davis nodded. "Okay, let me make some calls. I can't promise anything, but I'll see what I can do." "I'll need to run a quick background check on you while I'm doing that, if you don't mind." "Of course not," I said. "Whatever you need." She stepped outside to make her calls, and I sat back down with Chloe, who was now clutching her mug of hot chocolate like a lifeline. We watched a silly cartoon, and I tried to keep her spirits up, even though my own stomach was tied in knots. About 20 minutes later, Officer Davis came back in, a small smile on her face. "Good news, Ben, given the circumstances, and the fact that you already have a child. CPS has agreed to let Chloe stay with you tonight, on a temporary emergency basis, until they can follow up in the morning. They'll need to do a full assessment tomorrow, of course, but for now, she's safe with you." A wave of relief washed over me so strong it almost made my knees buckle. "Thank you, officer." "Thank you so much," Chloe, sensing the positive turn, even managed another small smile. "I'll need you to sign some paperwork," Officer Davis said, pulling out a clipboard. "And I'll be back first thing in the morning with the CPS worker. Just keep her warm and comfortable. And Ben, you did a good thing tonight." After Officer Davis left, I helped Chloe get ready for bed. I found some extra blankets and a pillow, making up a cozy spot for her in the spare room. Before she lay down, she looked up at me, her blue eyes shining with a gratitude that melted my heart. "Thank you, Ben," she whispered, "for finding me." "You're welcome, Chloe," I said, ruffling her damp hair. "Now get some sleep. Everything's going to be okay." I watched her for a few minutes after she closed her eyes, her breathing even and soft. She looked so peaceful, so vulnerable. I couldn't imagine leaving a child like that. The thought brought a fresh surge of anger, but I pushed it aside again. Chloe was here now, safe. I went to my own room, but sleep didn't come easily. My mind replayed the events of the night. The rain, the bus stop, Chloe's tear-streaked face, and now she was in my house, a complete stranger, yet somehow already a part of the fabric of my home. The next morning, Lily woke up to the sound of me making breakfast. She bounced into the kitchen, her red hair a wild halo around her head. "Daddy, what's for breakfast?" Then she saw Chloe, sitting quietly at the table, sipping orange juice. Lily stopped dead in her tracks, her eyes wide. Lily, this is Chloe. I introduced them.
Chloe, this is my daughter, Lily. Lily, usually outgoing, was suddenly shy.
Chloe too
Looked down at her hands. Chloe had a bit of a tricky night last night, I explained to Lily, keeping it simple.
So she's going to stay with us for a little while. Lily's face brightened. A sleepover? Something like that, I said, smiling, slowly, hesitantly. The two girls started to interact. Lily, with her natural curiosity, asked Chloe about her unicorn pajamas. Chloe, in a small voice, told Lily about Mr. Snuggles. Within minutes,
the awkwardness began to fade, replaced by the tentative beginnings of friendship when the CPS worker, a kind woman named Miss Jenkins, arrived with Officer Davis.
She spent a long time talking to me, then to Chloe. She was thorough, asking about my routine, my work, my parenting style.
I answered every question honestly, my heart pounding with the hope that Chloe could stay. Later that afternoon, after a long discussion, Miss Jenkins informed me that Chloe's mother had still not been located. Her apartment, which turned out to be the blue house with the sparkly flowers, was empty, with no sign of her. Neighbors confirmed that the mother was often absent, and Chloe was frequently left alone.
It was heartbreaking to hear, given the circumstances.
Ben, Miss Jenkins said, her voice gentle, and your willingness to take Chloe in. We'd like to explore the possibility of placing her with you on a temporary faster basis.
It's clear she's comfortable here, and you've already established a bond. My breath hitched.
Really? You consider that?
Yes, she confirmed. It would mean a lot more paperwork, home visits, training, but it would provide stability for Chloe during this difficult time.
And frankly, we've seen how well she's doing here already. I looked at Chloe, who was now sitting on the floor in the living room, giggling as Lily showed her how to build a tower of blocks. A warmth spread through me, a feeling of rightness.
This wasn't just about helping a child in need anymore.
It was about something more. Yes, I said without hesitation. Yes, I want to do that.
I want Chloe to stay here. And so, Chloe stayed. The first few weeks were a whirlwind of adjustments. More paperwork, more home visits, appointments with social workers.
I learned about foster care, about the challenges, the system, the overwhelming need for safe homes. But through it all, Chloe thrived. She blossomed in the warmth of our home, shedding the fear and sadness that had clouded her eyes at the bus stop. She and Lily became inseparable, two little girls who had found each other through a chance encounter in the rain. They shared toys, secrets, and an endless supply of giggles. One evening, a few months after Chloe had come to live with us, I was tucking her into bed.
She looked up at me, her blue eyes bright and clear, no longer filled with tears. Ben?
She asked softly. Yes, sweetie.
Thank you for finding me that night, she said again. But this time, her voice was strong, full of a certainty that hadn't been there before.
Thank you for bringing me home. My eyes welled up. Home. She called it home.
That's all I'd ever wanted for her. You're welcome, Chloe, I whispered, kissing her forehead. You're always welcome here.
You are home. Chloe's mother was never found.
After months of searching, the authorities declared her legally absent.
The process of adoption was long and complicated, filled with legal hurdles and emotional ups and downs.
There were moments of doubt, moments when I wondered if I was truly capable of being a father to two girls, of navigating the challenges of a blended family. But then I would look at Chloe, at her happy, smiling face, at the way she snuggled with Lily, and I knew, without a shadow of a doubt, that this was where she belonged.
This was where we belonged. A year after that rainy night at the bus stop, Chloe officially became a part of our family.
She took my last name, and we celebrated with a small party, just the three of us, plus Officer Davis and Miss Jenkins, who had become dear friends. Lily made a handmade Welcome Home Forever banner, and Chloe beamed, a light that had once been dim now shining so brightly. My life had changed completely that night. I went out for a routine walk home from work, and I came back with a new daughter, a new purpose, a new kind of love. It wasn't the path I had planned, not by a long shot. But sometimes, the greatest blessings come disguised as a little girl crying at a bus stop in the pouring rain.
And sometimes, walking her home changes everything.